Obviously, you have just released a brand new Christmas single. I've given it a listen. It's very, very sweet. The music video as well, really well put together. I really liked it. It's just adorable, isn't it?
It's yeah, yeah, it's lovely.
So I believe you've just gone live, if I'm right, on the 7th and 17th I've got here.
With the single.
Yeah, it said you had live dates in Cambridge.
Ah, I see. Yes, yes. So we played at the Portland Arms on the 7th. Yeah, that was a celebration of the current people that run it. They've been there 20 years. And I was playing 20 years ago, so it was quite nice, like nostalgic evening at the Portland in Cambridge, which was lovely. And then yeah,
Uh,
17th was a more stripped back kind of acoustic show at the Orator, which is like the Cambridge University Union bar.
Wow. Well,
Yeah.
congratulations. Sounds like a barrel of laughs. So, yeah, if you could just tell us a bit of background, how you got into the music industry, what inspired you to get started, stuff like that.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. So I've been playing music pretty much my whole life. So I started learning the piano when I was about 5, and then I learned other instruments through school and did grades and did quite the traditional route. And then I got to my teenage years and wanted to put all my teenage angst into my own songs. So started writing songs when I was about 16 or 17, and then yeah, formed a band. I did a lot of gigging in my early 20s and released an EP. And then I actually had a bit of a break from writing and performing my own songs because I trained to be a music therapist. So that took up quite a lot of time, um, and effort. And so I was kind of concentrating on that. And then I had a family. So it's kind of still there in the background, but I had quite a long break. It was about 15 years, I think, in the end, from writing
Wow.
my own stuff. I still played in other bands, but my own stuff it was on the back burner. And then, like a lot of people, I guess in 2020, reevaluated what was important and what I wanted to do with with my life and those creative outlets that I think everybody really needed at that time. So went back to writing and I wrote most of the songs that are on an album that I released last year were written around that time. So yeah, I used to work in the music industry as well. Before I trained to be a music therapist, I worked for some labels. So I kind of saw the backstage part of it,
Yeah.
behind the scenes, um, and kind of learn a little bit about how the business side works. So yeah, quite varied.
Very cool. So the debut album that you put out, I believe that was Sink or Swim, if I'm correct. And
Yeah,
then
yeah,
obviously your most recent song is This Christmas Morning.
yeah.
So, out of these releases, how do you think they've sort of developed you as an artist? It's like sort of, what's the takeaway you've got from releasing this music so far?
hmm Yeah, so I guess with the album it was quite folky. So I've always been quite influenced by folk musicians. I'm a big fan of like Joni Mitchell, Carole King, those kinds of singers. So yeah, it was quite a folky album, had a lot of strings on it. I'm really drawn to melody, so quite complex melodies and things like that and harmonies. So yeah, so it was good fun. I made that with my brother was playing strings on it, so that was quite nice.
Yeah.
Um, and I think as I go on, so this Christmas morning is much more, I call it kind of twee core. I don't know if that's a thing, but
I can't say I've ever heard of that. Go on,
no,
elaborate. I'm
I had to
curious now.
coin this phrase, I think, but it's very twee. It's been described as, I think you described it just now as sweet, and I think that's definitely what it
Yeah.
is. It's very kind of um harks back to a simpler time where, just yeah. And it is quite twee, and I think it's been described as twee, and I don't think that's a bad thing. So I'm trying to like embrace that because I think a lot of
No,
my music is twee.
absolutely. Yeah, because
Yeah.
I think what I took away from it is that, as the music video makes a lot more obvious, it's a
Yeah,
song that tells a story, it's like it's pretty clear
exactly.
what the
Yeah.
story is. But
Yeah.
it's like I don't think we need all pieces of music to be big, sort of
No.
explanations of the world around us. You can just tell a sweet little story, and that's exactly what it
Yeah.
was, it's
Yes.
very cute.
Yeah, definitely. And I think as I get older, I'm just not bothered about being cool anymore, which I think really helps.
Nah,
I
it's
don't.
it's the key to a peaceful life, not wanting
Yeah,
to be cool, Who needs
yeah,
it?
yeah.
It's overrated.
Exactly, exactly.
So, obviously, surely you're going to have lots of people around you, supporting, your choices to go into the music industry and stuff. So, how would you say with this latest release, they've sort of, inspired you to go ahead with, sort of the themes and stuff that you got in the end?
Yeah, I think I don't want to get to the age of 60 or 70 and regret not doing it. So I think I've just gone into it wholeheartedly, like it's now or never. I'll just put it out there, and people seem to have liked it and enjoyed it. And I think the good thing about Christmas Song is, once it's out in the world, you can come back to it every year and it's always going to be there now. And the video will always be there as well. And I think I'm just really proud of it, and I'm proud of what we've achieved together. So I don't know how much you know about the video, but I worked with some students some third year animation students who did it as part of their kind of coursework,
Oh,
um,
wow.
which has been such a good experience because it for me it's great because I get to kind of have a lot of input to what they're doing, and they get help from their tutors and things as well. But also for them, it's they can put that on their CV, they can put it on their reel, it will help them when they come to go into the industry to work, and it's just been really great. So I think, yeah, I don't want to ever regret not doing something. Like I can't remember what that saying is, you only regret the things you didn't do. So yeah, I think that's what's kind of spurred me on. I think it's just the getting it out there is the tricky bit. Is there's so much music now, which is brilliant, but it's actually getting it heard and getting it out there, which has been the most challenging part, definitely.
Yeah, no, absolutely. It's like there's that many people, doing it
Yeah,
at this point. It's like you got to make something really special to,
yeah,
stand out, I guess. But
yeah.
again, I think that's where you've made a really good move doing what you've done because it's like it is incredibly creative, It's like
Mm,
I did feel, listening to the song and stuff, I was like, there really isn't a lot of music that tells such a direct story like this. It's almost like,
mm.
sort of the way I interpreted it is that it's a little bit like a storybook. Literally opening a
Yes,
book,
yeah,
reading it page to page. It's like, there's a
yeah,
very direct and clear story that's going on there. And,
yeah,
you just don't really get that a lot with, with music these days. So
yeah.
I
You're
think
right.
that was a really good choice.
Yeah. Oh, thank you. Yeah, and that's exactly what we were going for in the video as well. And that it starts off going through a window, which is kind of snowy in a Christmas scene, and I think it's bringing the listener and the viewer into that world, definitely. Yeah.
Yeah, I really liked that the title of the song was sort of drawn with a finger on the window
Yeah.
mist and stuff. I thought that was very cool.
Yeah, so that
Um,
was the animator's idea, and I just did that. That's my writing. So they said, "Oh, if
oh
you
yeah.
write them, and then they can put it in." They did all sorts of things that are just so clever, and I wouldn't have a clue how to do. So yeah, it's really good.
Oh, that's so awesome. I mean, obviously, you say you got students to do it, and we are obviously student
Yeah,
pages.
yeah,
So, something we're asked a lot sort of to cover on here is it's like, students, especially when they're making, student projects and stuff,
mm,
we receive so much criticism. It's horrible, I think, when
mm,
you get started out, it's sort of very difficult to make yourself known and sort of put yourself in that space. So,
yeah.
what would you say, have you ever received, criticism on your work and how have you dealt with it? How would you suggest people deal
Yeah.
with, fingers being pointed at your work and stuff like that?
Yeah, I think it's part and parcel of being creative. I think not everybody is going to like it, and I think it's kind of learning to embrace that and not trying to please everybody, because if you try and please everybody, you're really watering down your work, and it's not going to represent you. And I think, you know, it's it's hard to hear sometimes, and I've definitely like had, I was saying earlier, it's twee and it's not cool, and definitely had criticism around that. But I just think, well, it wouldn't be me if I'd tried to do it in a different way. And I think, especially with art and creativity, you've got to have yourself in there, because otherwise it's not distinguishable from other things, and it's not you. And I think there is a danger that everything would just end up sounding the same if you take that criticism and take it to heart. But it's hard. I think we're exposed to so much more criticism now as well, with social media and all that stuff. So I think it's really kind of keeping your feet on the ground and reminding yourself that it's you and it's what you've created. So yeah.
Yeah. No, I think, in a similar breath as well, it's like, one person's criticism could actually be a huge compliment to someone else. It's like people want to call
Exactly.
your song twee, it's like
Yeah.
that's hardly a bad thing. It depends who you
No,
ask, isn't it, really? Um,
exactly. Yeah.
but yeah, no, I just, as I say, it's like I've never really understood the idea of sort of taking a jab at someone else's work, but to each their own. They can do,
Mm,
they can do what they want.
yeah.
Um, So something else, obviously, we're huge on is social media. We try and really push the idea that social media is such a huge tool in today's industry and stuff. So would you
Hmm.
say you've sort of implemented your social medias into the release of the song and stuff? And how would you say that like the promotion process and stuff like that has helped?
Yeah. Yeah, so I am of the generation that didn't have social media growing up. So, and I've said this in a couple of interviews, I think for me it's been a huge learning curve, like stuff that you guys, younger people would find really easy and know how to do. I just don't. So I've done a lot of I've done a lot of learning, even how to put stickers on things and all that kind of stuff. It makes me
Hey,
feel
at
very
least
old.
you're doing the learning. There's plenty
Yeah,
that try and ignore it, but
yeah, yeah. So I've been trying to kind of learn as much as I can without losing my own, there's only so far I will go with it.
yeah.
There's ways that you can go viral and all this stuff, but I'm not going to be dancing around to a trending track. That's just not me. And
It's
there's got
not
to be a
worth
line
it.
somewhere.
It's not worth it.
Yeah.
That
So
that's the
I've
scary thing, isn't it? It's like
yeah,
social media really, you go too far into it. It's like it's a
yeah.
scary world out there.
Yeah, and it can be so time consuming as well. And I have a young family, and I think there's definitely I have to make sure I'm spending enough time on it, but not so it's overtaking everything else, which I think there's a
Hmm.
bit of a danger. But I've actually really enjoyed promoting it, and I've tried to do a lot of kind of linking in with other people and asking them to share it and things like that. So, yeah, I'll just continue to learn, and I find it positive, which is really good because I know a lot of people are just find it so annoying that they have to do all of that now, but I think it's definitely a positive. We're able to hear so much more music and see so much more art now than we were, 20 years ago. So I
Yeah,
think
no,
it's good.
absolutely. No, I'm
Yeah.
totally with you on that one.
Yeah.
So again, obviously, what you have done with this song and what you do with your music in general, it's very, very original. So I'm just curious, have you managed to find like many other artists that are doing, something similar to what you do? And if you have you sort of reached out? Have you talked to them, found out what their ambitions are, stuff like that?
Yeah, I think there's a lot of musicians. So I live in Cambridgeshire, and there's a lot of kind of female folk musicians around the east of England that I try and link in with, and just in the UK. So I just need to cough.
Is that right?
Um, just in the UK in general. There's, I think, being put into the folk bracket, I'm quite different. So I am often described as folk. My music is just
Hmm.
described as folk, but I'm not kind of trad folk. So I think I don't quite sit in that box, but I'm also not quite sitting in an indie box or anything like that. So my influences are bands like Belle and Sebastian, Camera Obscura, um, kind of those female vocals with, I call it jangly backgrounds and
Oh yeah,
things,
yeah,
jingle
I see what you
jangle.
mean. Yeah.
I use like recorders and flutes and things like that in my music. So yeah, I think just I go to a lot of open mic nights around Cambridge and like Hertfordshire, which where I live, and just linking in with musicians that way is just really lovely and building on that community. Yeah, I'd love to collaborate with more people. It's just finding the time to do it, which is
Oh no,
tough.
absolutely. Yeah, and
Yeah,
and plus again, it's getting those connections in the first place, isn't it? Like we said about social media, it's such a jungle
yeah,
out there that it is fairly difficult to actually get in touch with anyone if they don't know who you are
yeah.
immediately.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
So outside of music, what would what sort of things do you do to wind down, and what do you do in your free time out of curiosity?
So I'm a big crafter and I love knitting. I've just started learning how to crochet. So I've just
Oh
learned
yes.
crocheted hat. I love baking, anything that's creating something, making. I really like reading, so I'll get through a lot of books and audiobooks I really enjoy as well. Yeah, watching films, just anything to I like doing, doing things that
Yeah.
is creating something. So yeah, the crocheting is a good one because it's keeping my mind busy. Because when you release a song, it can become a bit all consuming and it can become like all you're thinking about. So it's been nice to have that alongside, so I can kind of use it as a bit of a distraction. Learning the crochet. So yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not going to pretend to fully understand the creative process, but do you almost feel like, when you're actively working on something, it, consumes your life and it's like a very, it's a lot of fun while you're doing it, but it also is constantly there and you're constantly thinking about it. Then you
Yeah.
release it and then
Yeah.
suddenly it's like, oh, I've got nothing to do now. And you immediately
Yeah.
start working on the next one. It's the curse
Yeah.
of a creative person, I suppose.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think the way it's worked out with this song is we recorded it in the summer, but we also recorded four other tracks as well, which will be coming out on an EP in the new year. So
All right.
it's we've done kind of a batch of songs. So one of them is out, but the others are not out yet. So and I've already got sick of them, and I already don't like them, and I'm already thinking, oh no. But that really, I think that happens with a lot of people. You write and record a song, and you've listened to it so many times, and it becomes so, you can't really hear
You
it
can't look at it
properly anymore.
subjectively anymore. Sorry,
Exactly.
objectively anymore, can you? It's like,
Yes,
you're
exactly.
that
Yeah, it's
you're that
really
used to
tricky.
hearing it.
Yeah, yeah. So, so it's been kind of, yeah, the Christmas songs out there, but it's all the promotion that takes the time now. So it's, you've done the creative bit and now it's the promotion, but then also getting ready to release this other stuff, which will be coming up soon. So yeah, it's busy, busy.
Yeah, I mean, very exciting.
Yeah.
So throughout the process so far, what would you say has been the biggest challenge that you've met?
Mm-hmm. Oh, I think with this Christmas morning, it's like what I was talking about earlier. It's getting it heard because
Yeah.
you know, particularly on Spotify, it's very you can do all the right things, and I've really tried to do all that, pitching to playlists and all this stuff. But I've found that if you've got money to throw at it, maybe that might help. But not necessarily. So it's definitely about making those connections. And I think I'm really learning that that's what I like doing. Because this whole world is there and it's tapping into the right bits of it, which I have found the most challenging because you can end up, you know, not really talking to the people that are interested in the same things as you, which is fine as well. But in music, it's nice to have a similar outlook on things. So yeah, I think that's been the most challenging, just getting it heard, getting it out there. But I've been incredibly lucky. Lots of people have played it, and it's been amazing. So I feel like I've achieved what I wanted to with this song, which is a really nice feeling. It's really good.
Yeah, no, that's great. And I think as well, if you're asking me, I think you've chose a happy medium, deciding to put the music video on YouTube, especially
Yeah,
because had you put it on TikTok, there's so much content on there that it'd
yeah,
get drowned out inevitably. And then obviously Spotify, like you said, it's just so hard to tap into that. With
yeah.
YouTube, it's like obviously people do go out and look specifically for the things that they're wanting, and the algorithm is helpful in getting it to people. So I
Yeah,
think
I
that's why
hope
you
so.
found, so far from what I've seen, it's performing really well. So I think, you made a really great choice deciding to put it on there, I think.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I don't know anything about that, so I just I just thought YouTube exists and I can put it on
Happy
there. So
accident.
that's great.
Happy
Yeah.
accident.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, last thing I think, obviously, students, again,
Mm,
what sort of advice would you give as to, how to do what you do? How would you suggest they start? And where would you suggest, again, if they're wanting to be and do what you do, what
mm.
direction do you suggest they take?
I would say take your time. There's never any rush. You know, just really take the time to understand what you're trying to do and work with people that you are inspired by. Definitely, I think the way I write is I'll write the bones of a song and then I'll take it to the band and they'll come up with these amazing parts and then it becomes something, a group creation rather than just my thing. So definitely working with people that inspire you and also that you can be honest with. If something's not quite right or if you want to try something else. And I think it's about being able to try things as well without feeling like, that's going to get shot down or it's going to be embarrassing or whatever.
Yeah.
And yeah, I think there can be a sense of everything has to happen now, 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 now. It has to be shiny and perfect. And actually, I don't think it does at all. I think people want to see that personality and they want to see your process and your creativity. So yeah, that's the advice I would give. Yeah.
That's great advice. I think it's really quite refreshing to be honest to speak with someone who is so, for lack of a better term, unapologetically them.
Yeah.
Because I feel like there's such pressure these days to sort of conform to a norm or sort of go a certain way because it'll perform better or you
Yeah.
know what I mean. And I think it's just great that you're sort of doing something because you love doing it. It's
Yeah. Yeah,
surprisingly rare
definitely.
these days. So I just
Yeah.
think that's a really great sort of ambition to drive with.
Yeah, oh thank you. Yeah, I wouldn't do it otherwise. It's got to be fun and it's got to be me. So, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you ever so much. It's been really great talking to you.
Oh, thank you.
Obviously this Christmas morning out now.
Yeah.
Um, Sink or Swim obviously is already out, and then
Yeah.
we've got the EP coming in the new year. So a lot of exciting stuff going on for you.
Yes, definitely. Yeah, I'm not sure when it's going to be out yet, the EP, but it'll be kind of early in 2025. So, yeah.
Very nice. Right on. Well, thank you very much.
Thank you.